I was curious, okay, come as you are. I just was curious if there were any other people who were using that title for like programs or even podcasts already. And I did find one that is somewhat bigger, Come As You Are, which is from someone who is specializing in the area of like sexual education. So Come As You Are for them has a bit of a different meaning.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I tainted that just now.
Differentiation. That kind of come, we're a COME.
You are listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. My name is Tyler, and I am joined by my two friends, Amanda and Stephanie. Together, we are a trio of coaches coming together to explore life's big topics. We love holding space for each other to have deep conversations and explore the bigger picture of life. As coaches, we are constantly asking questions and reflecting on the meaning of life. And this podcast is an extension of those conversations. Each episode, we hold true to our name, Come As You Are, by showing up and just hitting record. Whatever we bring to the table that week is what we focus on. No scripts, no planning, just real and raw conversations. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability and authenticity take center stage. And we believe in the power of deep conversations and soulful connections. So welcome to the show. We are happy that you are here. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation.
Kaya!
We're going to have to practice that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome back to the Come As You Are podcast. That is so exciting to say the name because we have finally arrived at our name. When we started this journey, we were basically saying, like, what the heck are we doing here? Again, we had no intentions. We had no real direction. We just knew that we were supposed to come together to have these conversations, these deep conversations about life and, just really connect on a soul level. And the last time we were connecting, we were talking and the phrase "come as you are" came out, and it was like instantly Stephanie and Amanda knew like that was our name. And so we just arrived on Come As You Are. And on today's episode, we are going to dive deep into what does that mean? The phrase "come as you are." What does that mean? And how do you live that mantra? Because when you really break it down, come as you are is a mantra. It's a way of living. And so I love how organic the name came. I love how holistic this phrase is. And it's such a simple phrase, but it has like so many different layers to it. And today we are going to explore all of the different layers. And so I'm curious as we kick off this conversation, like, what do you two, when you hear the phrase "come as you are," what comes up for you? Like, what do you think of when you hear that phrase?
Well, I guess I can get us started. Hello, everybody. I think for me, really, there's an effortless flow to it. It's just and I think how we came to it was this: we're just showing up. There's no force. There's no, like, as you said, Tyler, like there's this organic, like just effortlessness to it. We're not forcing anything. We're just showing up for these conversations. And it's amazing how much depth and richness comes from that. And I think a big part of it too is also we've, looked at how we show up in the world, and that there's all these different ways that we should, right? with the air quotes, like should be showing up, because when we just come as we are, we just show up in our true authenticity, in our true selves. And I think that can be so powerful, instead of trying to fit into some kind of somebody else's way that, we're supposed to be, whether it's somebody else, society, whatever it is. But when we just come as we are, we don't need to be worried about, and that judgment just completely falls off.
Hi, everyone, also from my end. And Amanda, I love that you threw in the word judgment. And I think it's not just, other people, although this can be a big contributor to us worrying that we are having to change who we are, or having to show up as someone that is just trying to please other people. But also we have this judge within us that comes from truly ourselves, right? So we can have this mean voice that sits there, and that we are really critical of ourselves, and it's our own voice. You would never ever be as mean to other people as you are actually to yourself. You're always your worst enemy in that sense. And with that, like Tyler, you were talking about layers, right? There's so many layers to come as you are. And I'm gonna rip them off all at once. I'm gonna go right. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. To our deep conversations, to this belief that we all have, that we're not enough. Like, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not pretty enough. And we carry that around. And with every encounter that we make every day on our travels in our life, we bring that with us. And this is where the critique comes in and tells to us, like, oh, you should wear this and you should do that, in this desperate attempt to change ourselves into someone who is good enough. And I think our phrase "come as you are" is trying to dethrone this core belief of you are not good enough. Because what it does, it gives you this sense of peace, because it kind of allows you to calm down and be like, oh yeah, I am actually enough right now. I can show up to that meeting. I can go and wake my daughter. I can go to that date. I can whatever, and I am enough already. Like, this is how we want to shift it, right? From like, I'm not good enough to I am enough as I am right now. And I think come as you are is like you said, Tyler, a mantra that can help you to remind yourself in every situation in your life that you are enough already.
Oh, so much richness in what you two are talking about. Like, what was coming up for me as I was listening was, one, the topic of authenticity and what does it mean to like fully show up and be authentic, and two, the power of being present. And I think when you take this phrase "come as you are," you're automatically shifting yourself into the present like moment. You're there in the now versus thinking about like who you were 10 years ago or who you're trying to be in the future. And like when we live in the past, we oftentimes live with regrets and shame and doubt. And then when we are living in the future, we're often like faced with like the anxiety and the fear and like the worry. But this mantra, this title, "Come as you are," is inviting you to, one, like we were talking about, show up totally authentic. And I think you show up totally authentic when you are connected to the present moment, when you are not worried about what you did or didn't do yesterday or what's coming, in the near or far future. It's just like, this is who I am now.
And like, I know for me, and we're all coaches, and so we've all done this kind of deep self-reflection work. That was one of my biggest hurdles, was actually really appreciating who I am now, you know? And we've all struggled with the I'm not good enough, or I'll be good enough when I do this or that, or, you know, achieve this. And I think one of the things that really shifts so much is when you let go of all of that and you center yourself, you come as you are now, you know? And like this idea of being present, and what does it mean to fully be present and be connected to the now. And I don't know, like there's just so many layers that we can explore here, but those were some of my takeaways, and I'm just gonna throw it over. What what does now, like the power of now and the power of presence, like what does that bring up or stir up in you too?
Oh my gosh. Well, first, I just want to say to everybody listening, if this doesn't give you a preview, Stephanie said it best. She's like, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. We're going to go deep. That's it. Like, this is it. Like, this is what we're here for. And these are the types of conversations that we want to have here, because we feel like they are so, like, I know the three of us, we used to have these deep conversations. They were like, wait a minute. There's other people who need to hear these things. And there's other people that maybe are thinking this or are not thinking it yet. And, you know, we want to explore these ideas and really go there. And I think that is like also tying it into that present moment, like your question, Tyler, of really deeply listening to each other. To me, I think that is very present. Like even just thinking in the room that we're in right now, or the relationships that we have, right? Like how often do we actually just listen to each other? And that's what I've always appreciated about our space and chatting with the two of you, because it's like there is always this complete presence that we have with each other to whatever it is that's coming up, right? Like we're just there to listen to each other and give them that space. And listening to each other is like, we're actually listening. We're not thinking about, well, what am I going to say next? What, you know, where is this conversation going? Like we, even with the podcast, like we have no idea. Like we have no scripts. We have nothing. Like we're just showing up and we're having these conversations and allowing the, whatever this is to take us on a journey. And I feel like we need to remember that, like when we're in that present moment, there is that feeling of, you know the feeling when you're in the present moment. Like, and it is, yes, partly listening when you're in the space with other people, but it's also that feeling of just being at peace and in flow. Again, going back to that like effortlessness, right? Like it's just effortless. And we all know when we're there. And then sometimes we kind of, you know, veer off, and then suddenly we realize, oh my gosh, where have I gone? So I think it's a feeling that we have. And I think you identified a lot of the feelings that it's not, Tyler, like this past and future. And though there can be value in being in either or, but when we stay there for too long, I think is when we need to remind ourselves to come back to the present. Yeah, that's my, like, in a nutshell. That's my thoughts on that one.
Oh gosh, there's so much, and I think what I'm taking away from what you just shared, Amanda, is like we don't have pressure, right? We don't put pressure on ourselves, because we can get so easily swayed away from this inner critic voice that we have, and it can get us to this place of like, no, and what's happening next, and you should do this and you should do that. And here, coming as you are, we just we leave that aside, we park that, and we come here and we just share what we truly have on our hearts, and, you know, letting it guide us. And this trust that we have in ourselves, each and every one of us, like Tyler said, like we've gone through so much personal development on our own, and it's truly a muscle that we train on a daily basis, right? We didn't just get here by taking a weekend course on how to here or something. We've done this for years, and our personal development is definitely an obsession for us in the most positive way, a passion, something that guides us and helps us to move forward every day. And if you're listening and you're somewhat new to the space, you will find that the more you do this, like you will find it's really a muscle that you can train, and you're getting better at it. And the more you do this, the more you will find the depths of yourself, and you will be able to also then go deep with other people, because everything that you do with other people, everything that you do in this world, it starts with you. You know, there's so many sayings around, just like you're only ever able to love someone else as much as you are able to love yourself. And I'm so happy that I'm kind of lured us into my specialty, helping people to love themselves a bit more every day. And, you know, a big part of that is truly starting to ask yourself a billion questions and get to know yourself, and even date yourself, get curious who you are. And I think this can be a bit terrifying, especially the beginning, because you're like, I don't like who I am, or I have so many shortcomings, or I'm not good at this, or I don't like that, or whatever. And this is making it hard. Coming back to this topic of present, this is making it really hard to be actually present when you're not accepting of who you are, when you're feeling like you are outrunning yourself. I can see Tyler is like, oh yeah, this is getting me excited. When you're trying to kind of like outrun yourself, and you are not willing to actually meet the person you are today, because it's perfectly fine to say, you know, in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years, I want to do this, I want to be that. That's absolutely okay. But in order to get there, in order to go on that journey to become that person, to reach that goal, you got to first figure out who you are right now so you can evolve, right? So, and I think that's where most people are like, no, I'm going to distract myself with, I don't know, whatever, gambling or alcohol or whatever obsessions and pleasures there are to distract ourselves from looking within, because it's so much easier than to actually face ourselves. And this part of facing ourselves, this is what we love to do. I mean, it sounds a bit like, what, are you just like loving the pain? And in a way, yes, because we know once we go through it, first of all, the only way to get to the other side is through it. There's no way around it. And we know that once we go through it, we are a newer, more wonderful version of ourselves, and it's always worth it. Like I want to throw this in for you guys to speak to that part of like, oh yeah, like once you are on this journey of personal development, you're like, holy s, what am I getting into here? But then also, you know how rewarding it can be to go through it at the end of the day.
Like just deep sigh. I mean, there's so much coming up for me right now, but I think what's really resonating with me is, you know, when you go down this journey of personal development, you know, oftentimes you start the journey because you're trying to fix something. You know, you think there's something missing in your life. You think that you're going to heal a part of you that's broken or flawed. At least like that's part of my journey, is like, you know, I got into personal development because I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be the most powerful version of myself, the most confident version of myself, you know, all of these things. And the whole kind of crux of it all is that you recognize that you are the most powerful version of yourself right now, you know? And there is this like I am good enough now. I am perfect enough now. You know what I mean? Like I am confident enough now. And you're right, Stephanie. Like it's torturous to go down the personal development route, to be like, to ask yourself the deep questions and sit with your feelings and like look at your values and identify your beliefs and connect the past traumas, like all of these things. Like it's really painful, really, really painful. But it's kind of worth that journey, because you're connecting deeper with like the inner part of you. And like there is some like everybody's always looking for, you know, how can I be more happy, how can I be more successful, how can I, you know, whatever it is, fill in that how can I dot dot dot. And I guarantee you that all of those answers can start from looking within, you know, getting deeply connected with yourself. And so again, coming back to our title and this conversation of like come as you are, and going back to this space of like no judgment, like this is very much a judgment free zone, you know, because I think you have to recognize when you're going down this journey that like perfection, and I'm using the air quotes, like doesn't actually exist, because we're like imperfect beings, you know. We were designed that way. We have faults, we have fears, like that doesn't go away. And so like they like, even after years and years of like personal development work, there are still things that scare me. There are still things that I don't totally feel confident in, you know. Like you don't become a superhero who's indestructible. You become more centered, you know. And I think that's what the journey kind of brings out for me, is that like you learn how to be more balanced with yourself. Not perfect, not super strong, not whatever, but you learn like balance. You learn how to connect with that inner part of you where your desires lie and all of these kind of things. And it's a really beautiful journey. It's a tough journey. And I think what I'm most excited about as we kind of like are kind of kicking off this podcast and getting into this is having these conversations around, you know, how do you ask yourself the tough questions, and you know, how do you tame the inner critic and all of these kind of things. Because at the end of the day, like my mission is to just get up and become a better person. And you know, but also recognizing that I am like perfect now, you know. So I think like the biggest thing is like personal development for me always gets like sometimes they market it in a way of like you're not good enough, and you won't be good enough until you buy this course, or you know, read this book, or you know, take this program. And I'm like, I wish I could go back and tell my like the younger person, like the younger Tyler, like you are perfect now. And you know, even after you invest in yourself, you're still going to be perfect, you know. Like you're like it's all about like real, raw, honest authenticity of like, this is who I am now, you know. And we all have the fears and the worries, and we all struggle with things. And I think this whole idea of like coming as you are comes back to like being vulnerable enough to talk about those things, to have these conversations. Because even us, we're three coaches, we've been in this industry for a very long time, we still struggle with the imperfection, like the imposter syndrome, the fears, the confidence. And like we're not sugarcoating that, we're not trying to pretend that we don't have it. We're showing up and saying, hey, this is who I am today, and I am flawed and I am imperfect, and sometimes I'm a hot mess, but hey, that's okay, because this is real and this is raw. And so that's what gets me excited, is about like the title of Come As You Are is really like this invitation to just be a human.
I'm so glad you landed there, because that was like, as I was like having a moment, stepping back, like just thinking, like witnessing this incredible, like, I mean, our conversations are always incredible and they're always so deep. And this is why I love them so much. But also, I think bringing it back to this come as you are at the most basic level first, that we are all human. That's it. It's human. We're human. And I think we've talked about all the things and all the experiences that we have as being human. So as deep as we've gone, I'm also like wanting to bring us back to coming as you are as just a human. And that we can all relate to these experiences of fear, of struggle, of difficulty. We can also connect in joy and happiness and love. And I think that's really the environment that we're trying to, our intention really in creating this space and creating this podcast is to have that space, to have those conversations. And yes, we're going to warn you, they are going to be deep. If this hasn't already been a preview, we're talking about our name and we're already like 15 levels deep. Like, but again, this is who we are. And we just are showing up for whatever it is. And we hope that you guys watching, you guys on this journey with us, really, that you'll have a little bit of fun, and maybe we'll have some tears, maybe we'll be a little bit triggered, but we'll walk away with a deeper sense of knowing of who we are, what our purpose is in the world, what we value. And oh my gosh, I've always been excited about this, but hearing like this conversation to me it's epic. The space that we're creating here, I mean, I don't know if there's any other space like it on the internet. And there's not, because the three of us in this space aren't anywhere else. So come back and watch us next time.
Gosh, I love this so much, and I feel like this feels so round now. I think we really explored the depth and the all the levels of what come as you are means to us. And I hope for everyone listening or watching that you also found more meaning in those words for you today, because you couldn't totally make up your own meaning of that phrase, right? Like, you don't have to adapt what we think about it. You can have your own angle on it. And we are just so excited. We are just so excited to just like, when I will listen to this again later, I'm sure I will find like 260 things we can talk about next time. I think we touched on so much today, because it is a broader phrase, but then this is also the beauty of it, because like you said, Amanda, it is also about just, be who you are, and this is enough. And this is, I feel like, such a generic statement, but there's also so much depth in it, and I think we explored so much of it today. So we will leave it at that for today. We will, for all of you listening or watching this, we'll let you go with thinking about this phrase, and feel free to do whatever you want with it. And as Amanda said, we certainly hope that you will be joining on this journey for a certain period of time. And thank you so much for listening and watching this today.
Thank
And
you
with
so
that,
much, everybody. Bye for now.
We'll see you next time.
bye.
Thank you for listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. You can follow the show on Instagram at Come As You Are Podcast, and on YouTube and Facebook by searching Come As You Are, the podcast. If you haven't already done so, please help us keep the conversation going by subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. And be sure to join us next week for another deep conversation.